In this video, I'm going to go over the rhetorical analysis assignment. I encourage you to watch this video multiple times throughout this module, especially before turning in your final draft. And if you're not understanding any of the concepts or what any of the pre-writing assignments are asking you to do, please come back and take a look at this video. So we are going to go through the rhetorical analysis assignment sheet. As you know, since you've watched the welcome video, to access the rhetorical analysis module, you'll go over here to the left-hand side of Blackboard and click modules, and you'll see the rhetorical analysis module as number 1 here. This is a very brief summary of what the assignment requires you to do, but we are actually going to look at the assignment sheet for more details. The assignment sheet is located in the materials folder, but because it's also a required reading assignment, it is also located in week 2, and here is that requirement there. The rhetorical analysis final draft is worth 15% of your final grade. This assignment sheet includes the purpose, the criteria for success, which is like a rubric, and also the step-by-step tasks that you're required to complete to write a successful final draft. I'm going to read this assignment overview. For this assignment, you will choose a scholarly article found through the library databases and written in your field of study. This will be called your primary article. And draft a paper that analyzes how the author's writing strategies helped persuade other scholars to believe their overall argument. To do this, you will analyze the author's use of the rhetorical appeals, as well as the valued writing conventions within your discipline, since scholarly articles are often written for other scholars in the same field of study who also value those writing conventions. If you took English 111 here at Coastal, then you likely wrote a visual rhetorical analysis. The concepts during that assignment are the same as this assignment. We're just adding another element to that, and we're analyzing the writing conventions within specific disciplinary fields. And instead of analyzing a visual, we're analyzing a written text. So I'm going to go over some definitions with you guys. The first one is rhetoric. It's a noun, and it means the art of effective or persuasive speaking or writing. So authors use rhetoric to convince people. Rhetorical is an adjective, and it just means relating to or concerned with the art of rhetoric. So we are writing an analysis, which is a noun, and rhetorical is an adjective. So we're writing an analysis that analyzes rhetoric, which is a rhetorical analysis. A writing convention is an element that helps make writing clear and understandable. A disciplinary writing convention is an element that makes writing understandable and is specific to the writing within a certain field of study. For example, the sciences prefer that you write in an objective, straightforward manner, sometimes even with passive voice. This is very different than writing in English, where you're allowed to be more creative and more personal with your writing. So science and English are two different disciplines, and both of those disciplines value different conventions within the writing for their fields. Next, we have the rhetorical appeals, ethos, pathos, and logos. I have a rhetorical appeals video and a reading called Understanding Rhetorical Analysis, so I'm not going to spend any time going over those rhetorical appeals, but you will be analyzing the rhetorical appeals in this essay. Here are the objectives of the assignment, and the purpose of learning to complete a rhetorical analysis is to help you develop real-world and academic skills. So you'll be using all of these skills in the future, whether that's in your future classes at Coastal, at a four-year university, or in your future career. Here's information about what you should be including in your introduction, how you should write your thesis statement. One thing to keep in mind is that a rhetorical analysis analyzes the success of the author's rhetoric. How well do they persuade their intended audience, which consists of other scholars in their field of study? So you are not making an argument about their argument. What you're going to be doing is making an argument about their persuasion and how well they do that. Also in the criteria for success is the organization of the paper. So you need to organize your body paragraphs by the rhetorical appeal,
Include transitions between paragraphs, which typically work best in the topic sentence. Ethos typically does best as the first body paragraph because it's functioning to introduce the author of the main article. But you should organize your body paragraphs however it makes logical sense for your paper and the content of your paragraphs. So you must have at least 3 body paragraphs, one for each rhetorical appeal. So you must address each rhetorical appeal. Sometimes scholarly articles do not use pathos, so you may think that you don't need to write a paragraph on pathos, but you do. So make sure you include a paragraph for each of the rhetorical appeals. And I have some examples of different pathos paragraphs in the extra materials folder in Blackboard. So you can look there to see how to write a paragraph if your article does not use pathos. You can also have more than one paragraph for a rhetorical appeal if you think you need it. If you want to include 2 big examples of one rhetorical appeal, then maybe you want to put those in different paragraphs, and that's totally fine. So just at least 3 body paragraphs. Next in this criteria for success, I have it broken down by how you should write each of your rhetorical appeal paragraphs. So here's what you should do for the ethos paragraph. You're required to address extrinsic ethos, which means the credibility outside of the article, so like the author's credentials. You can also write a paragraph on an intrinsic ethos, but that's not a requirement for this assignment. And then here are the different things that you should have in the paragraph in the order that you should have them. So make sure you follow this. Same thing for logos. You have to have an additional source in your logos paragraph. Here is the link to that source. If your discipline is not listed in this link here, you may need to choose maybe a broader discipline. So, for example, if you are going into microbiology, you may need to choose writing about science instead of writing about microbiology. It would be the same writing conventions for each one, but this link here actually has a handout for writing about science. This is where you're going to choose the type of evidence from this. So evidence is listed. It's a whole category on this handout. And so what you want to do for your paper is choose a type of evidence from this handout that matches the type of evidence that your author uses. And so your analysis is going to say something like the author followed disciplinary writing conventions by choosing a value type of evidence, and his evidence supported his overall argument really well. And then you'd analyze how it did that. Okay, so the type of evidence from the App State WAG, this link here, should match the type of evidence in your main article. And then this is for pathos paragraph 2. This is if your authors actually use pathos, so keep that in mind, and please refer to the other handout titled Pathos Paragraph Examples in Blackboard for additional help if your article does not use it.
Here's information about what to include in the conclusion. This paper will be written in MLA 8th edition. You must cite any direct quotes, paraphrases, or summaries with in-text citations and citations on your works cited page. Avoid using first or second person point of view in this essay. And your paper needs to be 3 to 4 pages long, not including the works cited page. So that goes from your introduction through to your conclusion, should be 3 to 4 pages. Next, we have step-by-step instructions to complete before you write your final draft of the rhetorical analysis. First, you must choose a topic. This topic has to be within your field of study, and it needs to be a controversial issue. The reason it needs to be controversial is because you need to find an article that is proving a point and is not just informative. And so choosing a controversial issue is going to make that easier. For example, if my field of study is psychology, I could choose an article that is discussing animal testing ethics or childhood brain development. There are so many options. If you don't have a major or career path, you can choose any issue. Just keep in mind that the information you're going to learn as you complete this assignment, you'll be able to use in the future. So choosing an issue within your field of study is going to help you the most. I have an assigned reading for you guys called Finding Your Primary Article. This reading also includes a way to brainstorm for an issue. So if you're stuck, feel free to start there and read that. Next, you're going to choose your primary article, and you must read Finding Your Primary Article beforehand. All of those assignments are listed on your schedule, which is an assigned reading for week 1. And also all of these things are listed in the order that you should complete them in each week. The reading is for week 2. So a discipline is a field of study, is an academic field of study. And so you're going to school for something, right? And if you're just getting your associate's degree, are you specializing in a certain one, or are you planning on transferring to a 4-year university? If you're just getting your associate's degree, your specific associate's degree, then you can choose that as your discipline. If you're planning on transferring, then the major that you plan on pursuing will be your academic discipline. Some academic disciplines include English, graphic design, engineering, nursing, performance arts, biology, marketing, political science, business, etc. Your article that you choose has to be written from the perspective of your academic discipline. To figure out what perspective your article is written from, you're going to look at the author's credentials. If those are not listed on the article, you can just Google them. Also look at the content of the article. What's it about? Does the issue that it's discussing fall within your discipline? Lastly, you can limit your search on the databases to one single discipline. Once you make a search through the one search bar, over on the left-hand side, you'll see a filter called discipline. So you can just choose yours there. However, that does not guarantee that that article is written in your discipline. These are computer generated, so still double check the author's credentials and the content of the article. So here are the article requirements. Focus on an issue that someone in your discipline would be interested in, found through the library's databases. It has the intent to persuade. It has to include an overall point that's being supported. It can't just be informative. And it's written by a scholar in your discipline. Okay, just going through these a little bit more quickly. You're going to draft a bulleted paper proposal. You have a specific prompt to follow for that. Those are located in the materials folder, assignment sheets, task 3 RA proposal. So there's the prompt for that. As you go through these tasks on the assignment sheet, you'll see them in the assignment sheet folder in the rhetorical analysis module. So you'll complete an RA worksheet. So what you can do is follow this link to the App State Writing About guidelines, and there's a list of different disciplines on there. Find yours and use that handout as one of your secondary sources. If your discipline is not listed there, then you can Google writing in psychology. Psychology's on there, but for example. And you can try to find a handout from a different university. If you feel like this App State Writing About handout is not sufficient and doesn't, then you can find an additional secondary source. Next, if your primary article does not state your author's credentials, then you must have a secondary source, because including those credentials is a requirement in the essay. Next, you're going to write your rough draft and you're just going to submit that to Blackboard. We're not going to do a peer review and I won't give you comments on your rough draft, but you will complete a writer-centered tutoring session. Once you receive your comments back from your writer-centered tutor, you'll revise your rough draft and submit the final draft of your rhetorical analysis. A few other things I want to mention. If you look into the extra materials folder, I have extra examples and extra handouts in here. I encourage you to especially look at these extra examples. There's a RA worksheet example, so it tells you how to complete the worksheet. I have a works cited page example. Okay, just to reiterate, a rhetorical analysis analyzes how well an author persuades their audience. Because we're analyzing scholarly journal articles written in a specific academic discipline, we know that the audience for these articles are scholars within the exact same field. Therefore, we must analyze how well the author of the primary article adhered to the writing conventions within that discipline and how well they used the rhetorical appeals. I hope this helps you with Module 1. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to email me.